Hello and welcome to the OverShadow ShadowCast. I'm your host Thomas Anderson. This week you have me. Abigail's getting her break. I'm stepping in. We still obviously can't record together, so it's one at a time. And I'm quite excited for this because I have my own setup now, and it's the first time it's been complete. I have my shiny computer and now a shiny new microphone. Hopefully you can tell the difference in the audio quality. And so let's just get straight into it then. So first of all, what have I been playing? Well, I've been playing a couple of games. I've been playing something called Shining Resonance Refrain, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet because I'm coming close to the end of that, and I think I'll talk about that in the future when I've actually finished it. Instead, what I'm going to talk to you about is Grand Theft Auto 5. So I've had a particular interest in GTA at the moment, especially for online play. Well, it is the online play I'm interested in because I've completed the single player twice, and I'd happily go back and play that again. But we've finally managed to find a proper crew of 4 to actually do the heists, because as we've said for years that it's not anywhere near as possible as Rockstar like to think it is to do the heists if you're not in team chat. The particular heist that we're stuck on requires coordinated stealth sniping, and okay, well, I just got killed. Now, you can't do that without team chat between all 4 people. So we found a 4th person. That was her punching me in the head, and I think I just shot her to death. So that was very confusing when it happened at the time. And I'll introduce her when I get a chance, but the action's happening at the minute. Because when you're in a heist or a job or a mission, you cannot really... At least to my memory, it's much harder to friendly fire. You need to use an explosive or run them over or something. But when you're in, this is a gang attack. It's just a random red square that will appear. It's a certain place at a certain time, but it's just a sort of random engagement. Yeah, I've just killed her again. It's a random engagement with just random guys, basically. And you get a wee bit of RP for it. And because it's not it's counted like as just a wee thing that's happening. It's not really the same as a full job or mission or heist. So because of that, the game doesn't really put you together like it should. So you can quite easily kill each other by mistake. So I'm not sure, if I'm being honest from memory, whether or not the game actually does do that with heists and things, but it's just that when I was playing with other members of the crew, we very rarely ever had friendly fire, but we killed each other 3 times, I think, in the space of 20 seconds there, so there is an issue. That's the automatic shotgun. Bam. Yeah, I like that. So we think that's what the problem was, and hopefully it won't happen too often, but it was very confusing at the time. I just randomly got punched to death. So the lady I'm fighting with there is Estrella, and she's the 4th member of our heist crew. So that's the big piece of news that we have. That's why I've been playing GTA. That's why I've been getting into it again, is that Estrella joined Bampot, who's the 2nd person in our crew, Bampot Bandit, and the 2 of them did the first heist. Now, because they're not members of OverShadow, as it were, friends of the channel's a better way of putting it, they didn't record it, but they did do it under OverShadow supervision, as it were. So, and yes, that's Estrella stealing my car. I did say she could practice in it because she's new to the game, and I thought, if you're going to get yourself an armoured car, do you want to test this one and see if you like it? So she nicked it. But I went into the menus and I changed the permissions for my car access to no one, so she got booted out, and then put it back to crew so she could drive the car back after having been suitably chastised. So because we've got a 4th person, we can now actually do the heists in a controlled manner, but we can also record them. So we're still working out the way in which we're actually going to do it, because certain people have access to mics, certain people have access to recording equipment for the gameplay, certain people have better headsets than others when it comes to recording the. That looks like a big piece of bird poo in my windscreen. Anyway, when it comes to recording the team chat, so we're going to work out how to do it, but very soon we should have the heists available to. We should have played them and we should have recorded them, and they should be available for you to watch very, very soon. And we're looking forward to it. We're really excited for it, and it's taken a long time to get here, but it's very close now. At the moment, you'll see on your screen if you are watching that I am driving actually quite well through the city. I like driving in this game. I like the way it feels. It really feels like, I don't have much of a viewpoint, out the windscreen, but that's because it's an armoured windscreen, so the size is reduced for the armour plating around the edges. But and that's a collection of bullets hitting the windscreen which have not gone through. So, but I really like the feel of the cars in GTA 5, and I love first person. And as you can see, I'm not actually that terrible a driver. So Australia had never been to this particular part of the map, so just as we were playing around on it, on online play, I thought, yeah, okay, we'll go there. So she put a marker down, and that's really one of the best things that Rockstar thought of in this game, as far as I'm concerned, is that if the person who's the passenger puts a marker down, the driver gets the marker as well. So if you need to make a quick getaway, you don't have to then stop and attempt to lay down a marker while the police are still shooting at you because you can't pause it properly. So it would be a bit harder, because in single player, if you pause it, the police stop shooting or bad guys stop shooting. But in multiplayer, there's no actual pause. Even in a closed crew session like this, so that only our crew members are involved, it still doesn't pause. So the fact that the passengers can set it up so that they can put down the waypoints is really, really, really incredible. So we were just I was testing out recording some gameplay, and we were just getting into some GTA Online to see how well it worked, to see if there's any particular settings we needed, because when Bampot and I originally started playing like 4 years ago, it was very, very difficult to actually get in properly. Yeah. So Estrella wanted to actually try and do some flying, because she's played through the main campaign to a certain mission that I recommend everybody head to before they go to online play. If you don't have time to complete the game, I'd at least try and get to the mission. I think it's called Trevor Phillips Industries, when you actually get to fly a plane. And I would do that because then you've really experienced at least one attempt at everything by that point. But she wanted more practice, so we stole a plane, and we got 1 star for a private jet. So yeah, steal a private jet if you're going to steal anything. Don't. Unless you're really interested in a challenge, I wouldn't necessarily try and steal a fighter, because that's when things get complicated and the bulletproofing becomes necessary. One of the other things is that Bampot and I like to play in first person. We think it's the best way to experience GTA Online and GTA 5. But Abigail and Estrella don't like first person. They say that makes them feel a wee bit queasy, so they'll be playing in third person. And if people are feeling queasy from the first person point of view, and we get enough people telling us that, we'll try and either prioritize the third person viewpoints, or we'll try to have the people who like to play first person sometimes cut to third person. See, I've cut to third person here just to have a wee look at something. What we actually didn't notice there, but I've just seen from when we noticed later, was that the landing gear was down. So she needs to work on that. But she's not the designated pilot at the minute, so I suppose she's got an excuse there. So GTA Online is basically just, it's multiplayer for single player. It's the multiplayer to GTA's main story's single player, and the big thing about it is all about heists and stuff like that. And so the whole game is about heists, and so it's doing heists like you do in the single player, but with your mates. So there's pros and cons to that. One pro is that you're doing it with your friends, and that makes it cool. Because the heists are themselves really cool, because everything has to go in a certain order. It all has to go off without any hiccups, and you feel awesome and amazing and cool when you do it, because they usually end or start, or the middle of it when you're doing stuff is actually really cool. You feel really cool. I think the money rewards are a bit small, but I suppose that's to try and get you to repeat them. So I can understand that, because once you've got about 20 million, you kind of don't need any more money, at least about that from my estimate. It might have changed because I've added even more stuff. But if you're smart in your purchases, 20 million is enough to do whatever you want, and that's fine. I've got 12 million in the bank, and I own the most expensive house and an armoured 4-door car I wouldn't replace unless I was buying something extremely armoured. There's a Straya pulling us into land. Yeah, I was panicking at this point, but then we realised that the door was open, and then that happened with the plane loading in, that was scary, because it was fear as we came into land, then elation, the door is open, you can go inside, that gives you extra room to slow down, and then, oh god, that plane's warping in from the Matrix. But it's okay, we managed to get out alright. And this is where we decided we were going to change vehicles. So we wanted to see basically whether or not we could steal that, because I was pretty sure we couldn't, because the very large vehicles you're not able to take, the very large transport like jumbo jets, you can't steal those in this game like you could in San Andreas. So we were pretty sure that we wouldn't be able to get in it. So yes, it's the multiplayer to the single player, and one of the bonuses is that you're doing it with your friends and you feel really cool, and it is cool. It's an experience to share as far as I'm concerned. It really is. The downside is that the heists have roles. There are 4 people all doing it. Sometimes it's 2 of 2, sometimes it's 2, 1 and 1, but you're doing different things. You're not all doing exactly the same thing the whole way through it. So basically that means that you don't always get to see everything that happened in a heist. That's the downside. Unlike in single player where you'll switch characters, in this one you can't. Yes, it turns out we could actually get into the vehicle and fly it. So we could actually steal the large... This is the interesting thing. That's like it's an army, it's a military transport cargo plane. But we got 0 stars for stealing that. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Anyway, so we took that plane as well. But the downside of, like I was saying, is that you don't experience everything unless you play it 3 or 4 times and do all the different jobs. So that's the downside. But the upside is you're doing it with your friends, and so it can be a lot of fun. And they do go out their way to make you feel really cool, like they did in the single player. So it's a shared experience that is worth sharing. And when somebody turns up in a really kooky-looking high-end sports car, and somebody else turns up in a beached boat or whatever, you can have fun in GTA Online. It's why we like the closed crew sessions, because it means it's just us. We're not having to deal with all these other randomers, and there are people who enjoy that aspect of the game, and more power to you, but I don't like the idea of walking down a corridor or a street or anything and having a randomer come in and just take my head clean off. When Estrella was setting up, she got booted from before she was actually in the crew. She had an open session rather than a solo session, and she actually got locked in a shop. Somebody did that thing where you park a car against the doors and nobody can get out. So she'd been in there for about 5 minutes, and already somebody's being rather unpleasant. So I just think the number of times in an open session you just go for a drive and you get hit by a jet plane is ridiculous. So for me, it's not for me. So I like to play the closed crew session and just play with the heist crew. So yes, that's why we've been looking at it. We'll be talking more about it. Abigail has been introducing the game and its contents, so I think I'll leave her to do that, because she's not played it yet and she's playing through the single player, and she can tell you more about it when she's due to do the next podcast. I think I'm doing next week's one, so she'll be the week after that. So she'll be able to talk you through what actually happens, and see, this is me landing now. Sorry, I'm cutting back to what's happening on the screen. because I'm actually watching it as I do this recording. The idea being that I wanted to, if something really cool happened on the screen, I didn't want it to just be happening in the background. I wanted to be able to then talk about what we were doing. So we've decided that we've had enough flying and we're going to go and get the car back. And this is where I totally I misjudge how long it takes to brake, and bam. And I think when I get out, you'll see the damage because I deliberately go and have a look. So yeah, Bampot and I have got hours and hours and hours and hours in GTA Online, so we're perfectly ready to go. And we've got weapons and vehicles and houses, and we feel really quite good about it. We're just sort of taking our time to introduce Estrella and Abigail to it so that they can really get into it and have fun and not just feel absolutely overwhelmed and swarmed, or that they're just along for the ride and don't really understand or know what's happening. So we're taking our time to introduce them to the world of GTA Online so that they can enjoy themselves as well, because when you watch this, if you do, we hope you do, when you watch these heists and us playing GTA Online, if they're enjoying themselves and I'm enjoying myself, the four of us are enjoying ourselves, you're more likely to enjoy yourself. If it's four people who are, two people who are kind of enjoying themselves and two other people who are miserable because they haven't got a clue what's happening, it's not fun. So we're taking our time to introduce them. And that's what this footage is in the background. But like I said, we're really excited to play. I'm going to leave the single player discussion to Abigail. She'll be back in a couple of weeks, and that was a good piece of driving there, wasn't it? And she'll talk through what's happening with the single player. And I think that's the right thing to do, because I've played it dozens of times, I've played it before. I'm focused on the online. She's playing through the single player, so she'll be able to talk to you about that and tell you what the game's like from a single player aspect. The multiplayer is different because it's about spending time with other people. You can do missions and jobs that are there, but the best way to do them is to do them with other people and do them coordinatedly, do them properly. Don't just have them happening in the background, because that won't be fun. You need them to be happening deliberately. It's not just, I'm being told to go and steal this car and put it there, fine. And then when one guy's just getting used to what's happening, the other guy's already run off and completed the mission. That's point. Do it purposefully. Say, right, I'll drive us up, you do the shooting, I'll get in the other car, you take this car and follow me. Do it deliberately, because that's where a lot of the enjoyment I've had come from. When you just turn around and the other person's disappeared, it's not great. And even just driving around can be fun when there's someone else there. Drive down the motorway, have fun, have a wee impromptu race, or you can try and get into the military base and see if somebody manages to get a fighter or to get a cargo bob. Just have fun with the game. We had a bit of confusion here with we're trying to do the arm wrestling, Estrella and I, on the screen at the minute, and we had a wee bit of confusion. I think that mouse is there the whole time. I didn't realise that it was recording that. My bad, I've not done this before. I've not used this setup before. So in future that won't be there. But I didn't realise it was actually recording that. So I apologise. And when it comes to the arm wrestling, because we're in a closed crew session with the two of us, normally when you go into something like this, you'll see that I'm listed at the top, and then there's a blank space for a second person. That there'll be invite abilities and people joining randomly who want to arm wrestle. But because we're in a closed crew session, it's just the two of us. So Estrella went in and sent me an invite, and we got through it in the end. It's just I think this is just a stick wobbling. You wobble the stick as fast as you can to win. That's it. It's a bit of harmless fun, but we enjoyed ourselves. And so it's the difference really is that you've got to do it purposefully. That's when you get the most fun out of it. And it makes you feel really quite cool, actually. Whereas if you do it just happenstance, and the other guy's already finished it, you don't enjoy it. And I think that was made crystal clear by Abigail and Estrella when anybody was trying to get them to do something they didn't really understand. They'd say, like, I don't have a clue what's happening. It's not fun because of that. So we pulled ourselves back to let them keep up, and I think and let them try things for themselves. And I think that was sort of actually demonstrated that the best fun you can have is when everybody's in it deliberately. And even if you go overboard in planning, that's fun in and of itself. because you're spending time chatting with your mates. So I would always err on the side of go in with more of a tactical action plan than just go in. But if you go in and wing it, fine, but you go in as one. You don't just have one person disappear and finish the mission with the other three standing there, because it's just, you can't do that in a heist or a heist setup, but you can do it in a general job or mission, so just don't, because it's just not fun. Yeah, I'm a loser. If you look at the screen now, I lost an arm wrestle to Australia, so I'm a loser now. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. That's what I have been doing. That's what we've been focusing on. We've been setting this up. We've got all the equipment that we need, hopefully, and so we can actually do it now. We're going to be doing some test runs, Abigail and I, in the next few days, and we should be prepared to start making videos, and we're really, really happy about it. So, comments on this video and Abigail's previous one if you think there's something that's not right or done wrong, or I mean the mouse, of course, I'll move that, but anything at all, and we'll work on it and make sure anything we haven't noticed or have and you have a solution to, let us know. We're excited, but we've got a bit of work left to do, but it's close. Yes, that's right, I am level 91. The last thing that we have was a piece of news that, well, now I was supposed to be discussing the big reveals from the PlayStation, what would it have been? Presentation, podcast, expo. They were going to be discussing the PlayStation 5, and it got moved a week. So it was supposed to be last Thursday. It's going to be tomorrow. So that's what I was going to be talking about, but it's been shifted. So I can't talk about it because it's been shifted. So, sorry, I'm just cutting back to GTA, what's happening on the screen. The loading times in GTA Online are bad. They're bad like the single player. They're very bad, but they happen a lot more often. So it can be a bit tedious. Again, that's why one of the reasons I wouldn't play by myself. Play with people, because then you're chatting to each other when you're waiting for the load. It doesn't feel as long. I mean, Astraya and Bampot played through the first heist, both the setup missions and the heist itself on online play, and they did it in an hour and 15 maybe. So it really flies when you're in a group and you're having fun. So the loading times are difficult, but they're a lot easier with mates. So that's just one thing I would think of. And this is where I tried to convince Astraya to do the gang attack, but she wanted to. I think she's jumped in the back and she's getting me to drive to my house so I can show her my house, because she obviously at this point hasn't had enough money to buy the one she wants. So that's what she's having me do. So PlayStation have cancelled or moved, their postponed for a week, and so we've not got any information on that. I'll be watching that tomorrow, and I'll be next week's podcast. I'll be trying to get a handle on the news that I've been missing, because dealing with that was bad. I shouldn't have crashed there. Dealing with COVID, which I had once and then was exposed to a second time. Dealing with COVID, it's not fun. You end up really, really tired. Really tired. I think YouTube is still demonetizing anybody that says coronavirus or COVID, but that's not a problem because we're not monetized yet. But the real problem for a lot of people like me who are healthy and not going to die from it is the exhaustion lasts quite a long time afterwards. You're really tired for a good few. It's like a month. You feel exhausted. But the second time I was exposed, absolutely no trouble. So hopefully that's some evidence as an immunologist that there is an immune system effect. It's a bit unlikely that I'd be symptomatic first time and then asymptomatic second, but no, I don't really. Oh, I missed my turn here, so I had to do a wee loop-de-loop. What was I doing? Right, so PlayStation, we'll be talking about. I would try to get a grip on the news that I've been missing, because I've been dealing with that. I've been finishing off my course. I've found out where I'm going, what school I'm going to, but I won't mention it because I don't think that's a good idea. But I've been dealing with all of that stuff, and so I've not really kept on top of the news stories like I would have liked to. So that's what we'll be discussing next week. So we're heading inside now, and I'm going to keep that footage for next. I think I'll put that at the beginning of the next podcast, what my house looks like on the inside. So I'm going to say that I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, I'd like you to like and subscribe. You might have noticed that Estrella didn't realise she could come into the garage with me, and so threw herself out the car, so I'm now going to have to go and let her in my house. But I hope that you did enjoy this, that you'll like and subscribe, and that we see you next week. The Facebook channel page will be up and running when we've got videos. You can, if you've got anything you want to tell us, you can email us at overshadow@shadowcast@gmail.com, and you can just anything you've got to say would be more than welcome. And you can leave a comment underneath if you want to do that. If you do subscribe, we hope you do, please click the notification bell and you will be rewarded with many videos coming up. So yeah, I hope you had fun. I did, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.